Truman.
Hello again, you awesome AfterBuzzers. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Twin Peaks After Show here at AfterBuzz TV. I'm your host, Sam Davidson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. And I would like to introduce my fabulous panel before we get to our special guest. Let's start with you, Lex.
I am, in fact, Lex. That's me. I am all over social media at the Lex Michael because that's what my name is.
How about you?
And
Michael?
I'm Michael X Shirley on Twitter and Instagram.
Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Lisa Mason Lee, and you can find me everywhere at Lisa Mason Lee.
And guys, as promised, we have Tyler Malik here in the studio. He was a stand-in and an FBI agent in the last episode, and he has a lot of wisdom to bring upon us. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
He's very understated, and I'm not saying creepy, but just like he knows things, you know?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So where can everyone find you on social media?
Twitter, Instagram, Tyler Malik.
Awesome.
17,
Just like pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
And thank you guys again for tuning in. You can, of course, find AfterBuzz everywhere. We're in the live chat, as is Lisa.
Yeah, ask us questions if you have any questions for Tyler about the show.
Yeah, ask away.
Come on.
So I feel like this week is the first of what's to come because we had 2 and 2. You know, we covered 2 episodes last week, 2 episodes the week before. Now we're doing weekly. Did you guys feel like this episode tended more to like a weekly audience? Because I did.
It jumped around quite a bit, in my opinion.
It was a little less trippy.
Yeah.
I like that we got to see some of our old favorites, and it like delves a little deeper into the town. What about you guys?
I straight up got, and it's not like I didn't know that we were gonna have scenes in the Double R featuring Shelley and Norma at the same time, but I would be lying if I didn't say I dang near rolled a tear seeing the two of them together. I'm not even joking. Like that got that. I have a lot of thoughts, and I have a lot of
the way they were holding
feelings.
each other.
Yes,
like,
and the fact that they're, and we'll talk about this in greater
nostalgia.
detail, but the fact that we had references to, we had a reference to Shelley's daughter in, I believe, at the end of episode 2, and now we're seeing that built upon, and it's blowing my mind to see Shelley and Norma standing there behind the counter watching her daughter in the car with this guy who's, you know, not the right guy for her. That's something that, of course, Shelley can relate to. And I remembered, of course, Norma can relate to that as well, because she had her own version of that with Hank Jennings. My heart, you guys.
Total deja vu there.
And there were a lot of moments like that for me tonight. Plus, a lot of moments now, the gears in my head are spinning real hard, because we got nothing conclusive, certainly. I feel like that's not the nature of the story we're being told, at least at this point, but a lot of hints as to what is going on with the bits of mythology we've seen in these episodes thus far that in my mind raise a lot of questions about things that we saw in the original series as well, and what exactly are the parameters of one as relates to the other, but that's stuff we're going to get to.
So I think just an overall thing is that this episode specifically, we had a lot of mythology in the first 4 episodes. We were floating through space and time, there's all these things that happened, but now we're kind of like back down to earth, and we're just kind of gathering all the information. So I'm enjoying it. So you're a Twin Peaks fan as well, Tyler, right?
Yes, I became a Twin Peaks fan once I started working on the show. I was 2 years old in 1990 when they first came out, so I know my parents were big Twin Peaks fans and they watched it, but once I started working on the show, I had to go back and watch it myself and figure out what the buzz was about. And so I did that. I watched, both the seasons and the Fire Walk with Me. So
pretty scary, right? Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
Scared the pants off.
Well, you're
of
in
me.
pretty good company too. FBI agent with like Dale Cooper.
Yeah.
So
You were with David Lynch in a scene. Tell us about that.
Well, the funny thing is that shooting with David Lynch, likes to do things like kind of by the seat of his pants. So that scene, actually, I showed up to set that day, not knowing I was going to even be in that scene. And Scott Cameron, the first AD, comes up to me and says, "Hey, Tyler, what do you think about being on camera today?" And I was like, "What do you mean being on camera?" Because I was just a stand-in at the time. And he said, David really wants you to be an FBI agent in this scene, so, why don't you head over to wardrobe and get all dressed up and see hair and makeup. So I did that. They dappered me up in the FBI suit, and I walk out, and we're going to do the rehearsal, and David's like, all right, this is what I want you to do. I want you to, greet us as we're walking out of the airport and shake all of our hands and, get us into the limbo so we can take off. And I don't know, that was a poor David Lynch.
I actually think
in his
that
David
was
Lynch,
pretty
in his
great.
David Lynch voice, and yeah, it was great to be on camera with the likes of David Lynch and Krista Bell and Miguel, Ferrer. We deeply miss him, and yeah, it was a great experience. So
I feel like it totally would be. I mean, that's the best ticket to not end up in the Black Lodge. When you die, I would just think I'm like giving my ticket in, then I go, okay, cool, I'm good. Well, on my weird note there, let's get into this episode, which was, again, very weird and awesome. One of the things I love about this show is that it's so weird. I call people weird in general, and it's a compliment.
Yeah.
So, what about this Argent 2 situation? Okay, so we see two people watching this Dougie Dale thing. And then there is this woman that's waiting that seems out of sorts. It's one of those scenes that I feel as though it's going to come into play later as very, very, very important. Lex, tell us your thoughts. You're just inching at it.
Well, so we're obviously whatever this conspiracy is that's surrounding Dougie and the attempts on his life, or the attempts on his life. Thus far, we don't know who necessarily is behind it, but we're seeing now there is a hub of sorts where this woman, who's clearly not in charge, but seems to be maybe running this little hub, has to now make a phone call to what I would imagine is their superior, having to deliver some news she's not entirely eager to deliver, but she doesn't talk to a person. She dials a number, and we cut to this black...
Argent, too.
This black box, and we come to discover that at the end of the episode, these boxes are in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Now, I know what that means to me in relation to the Twin Peaks mythology, but have you guys seen The Missing Pieces? Or is it only me here that's seen The Missing Pieces?
I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to buy
Your
it.
notes up.
I tried to do everything to get it, and I couldn't. I would have paid money for it. And I couldn't get it unless I ordered the DVDs in hand off of Amazon, which I, probably should have done.
Okay, so...
Take it from here.
The Missing Pieces, David Lynch finally put out, only a couple of years ago now, just before they released the entire Mystery, the series, and Fire Walk With Me on Blu-ray. Missing Pieces is an hour, give or take, of additional material that was cut from Fire Walk With Me that they cleaned up. It looks beautiful and was included with this set. So Buenos Aires, Argentina, per The Missing Pieces, is and there's actually, if you look around online, there are fans that have cut The Missing Pieces into the entire movie, and you can watch like this 3-hour version based on, and it's, of course, it's not Lynch's vision, it's their best guess at where these scenes should be placed, but per where these scenes would go in the narrative, that is the first place and the last place we see Philip Jeffries in the mythology. That is where he is before he appears at the field office in Philadelphia, and that is where he returns to when he vanishes. So again, in a world where we've been name-dropping Philip Jeffries pretty heavily, and we've seen communications with a character who may or may not be Philip Jeffries, I love that we're tying in now Buenos Aires, where, if you see The Missing Pieces, that'll raise a lot of red flags. I love that we're not... Who knows if we'll ever get a conclusive answer to any of these questions, but we're not just going to leave it there. It seems like we're continuing to follow that thread, which I straight up stood up. Like, if you'd watched me in my apartment, I just stood up. I had to explain to my
Lex
girlfriend what was
won't
happening.
watch with us. By the way.
I got to go through some stuff as I watch these, man. It's a whole emotional, cathartic process for me.
Yeah. Okay, did you guys get any of that when watching?
No, I didn't pick up. I had no idea what the purpose of the
I
meeting
feel
was.
not as dumb. Thank you.
Our historian Lex, thank you so much.
Did
for
you
the
know any of
explanation.
this, Tyler? Like, do you know the history at all? Well, you do a little bit, but as deep as Lex does.
Probably not as deep as Lex does. No.
Stop it, you guys.
This is his prom, you know? He's prom king. Sorry.
That's okay.
You really
So,
don't want to
but-
be
but-
prom king here.
But do you get these small kind of hints and the random history behind it?
Well, I think I kind of do because it was obviously there when we shot everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just talking with people. I mean, because, I mean, a lot of the crew, you know, worked on the show 25 years ago, too. So,
that is correct.
you
Such
know-
as who?
Hmm?
Who?
Such as who?
Yeah, which crew members?
Well, you know, one of my friends that I made working on the crew, Skip Bucola, he was a stand-in 25 years ago. You know, Scott Cameron, the first AD, he was there in the beginning. Yeah, so a lot of the crew members, just being able to talk with them about their experiences 25 years ago, I gained a lot of knowledge of you know, the ins and outs of Twin Peaks. So,
Do you feel like those people you were just speaking about know the secrets, or they were just there and they don't know anything, or they know all of the secrets of Twin Peaks, or some of them?
I feel
that
like
we
they
don't know?
probably don't know all the secrets of Twin Peaks because, I mean, you know, even after, like I said, you know, living and shooting it, I'm still watching it like you guys are, and I'm like, did I miss something when I was there? Like, what's
Touché.
going on, you know? So, I definitely think that, you know, they don't know.
Yeah, well, it's a secret to all of us.
Well, I'm curious about, if I may, because I know you guys, Lisa, you too, you both worked on this show, and it's been very public that only Kyle MacLachlan was given that 400-page document that was the basis of the shooting script. The principal cast has been very public about exactly what you just said. Like,
Well,
we still don't know.
As a stand-in, they didn't give us scripts.
That was my question, is when you guys show up, not how much did you know, how little do you guys know when you show up to work
They
on
were
that set?
they were very strict with us. They didn't give us scripts, especially because stand-ins, you know, working on a lot of different shows. Like usually, stand-ins at least get, you know, the script, and so they know what's going on and what scenes we're shooting, like the
That's
lines
what
of the
we
actors.
do.
Yeah, that's what that's what a stand-in does.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were very selective of who they gave things to, and at the end of the day, they always collected everything they passed out. So, like, nothing. They wanted to make sure nothing got out, nothing, you know, was ruined, or anything got let out to social media, any of that. So.
Well, and now we're here, guys. So all the secrets will be let out. If you are just tuning in, tune in, because we'll get 1 million hits.
1
Yeah,
million.
Twin Peaks fans,
Yes.
watch out. We've got the
1
info.
million hits. We had a really fun scene. I just want to point out with the coroner, and they had that dead body with his head cut off,
Yes.
which again I think will come into play later on. She had a joke about doing stand-up, which I very much appreciated.
Still stand up on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, how else can you have that job without, you know, doing stand-up?
Yeah.
And he had a ring inside of him, and it was Dougie's wedding ring.
Yes.
Jane E.
Yes.
I was like,
Jane E. Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it. We just want to let you know it's there, and we're going to probably get back to it in a bunch of episodes later.
Well, is it
Right.
just me, or was that Garland Briggs's like everything from below the head?
So, okay, when we first saw that body and they started name-dropping Major Briggs a whole lot, I had that same mortified thought, like, oh no, what if the final indignity visited upon Major Briggs is that this is what happened to his body? But then I started thinking, well, all right, we're dealing with a heavily mythological, magic-filled world, so maybe there's a way you could preserve that body that well for 2+ decades.
what?
So
But
they
you'd
said
have
there'd
to be-
been
Whoa.
16 hits.
Yes, they found his
since
prints.
he's been like missing.
Yes. I feel like it's easier in a world where you have to preserve parts of him to do that, in theory, probably easier to preserve the fingerprint part of him than the entire body. But I did have that thought as well. And
Well-
I'm terrified that would hurt my soul.
You guys, I honestly wish we had 5 million hours to talk about it. We have so much more to talk about. I'm just going to keep us moving. So next, I have a scene that I loved. Okay, so Dirty Dale, as we call him, right?
Dirty
He
Dale.
is in prison, and he looks in the mirror, and then we get flashbacks of the season 2 finale, and we see that this is Bob. That's what I took from it.
Oh yeah,
Bob
for sure,
is Dirty
without a
Dale.
doubt. Yeah.
That's interesting because I took the opposite from it. I have a lot of questions
What
about
are you
this particular
talking
sequence.
about?
So we see he looks in the mirror and we get this cool face morph effect where it's just we distort Kyle MacLachlan's face just enough in the direction of the late Frank Silva's so it is unmistakable. But he looks in the mirror and he says, "You're still with me," as if he's talking to Bob, as if Bob is something outside of him, which is the first point in this episode where I started to ask myself a ton of questions about this mythology, because this is a doppelganger. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a doppelganger that's driven by Bob at all times. And what I started to extrapolate from this is sometimes Bob's got one hand on the shoulder and sometimes he's got both hands on the shoulder. Right? But sometimes he's not. He's there. Sometimes he's not.
Right. That kind of frustrates me because, like, you do see that with, like, Leland Palmer. Like definitely, like, when he is burying Laura and he freaks out, you can tell that's him coming through, like, all that grief. But then, you know, there are times when he totally acts crazy. And I don't understand, like...
I think it's both hands when he's crazy, right?
Well, I don't want to believe that any of Coop is in Mr. C. Like, I want to believe that is all Bob. Because why would Coop ever do such horrible things?
Well, and you brought up Leland, and that's what I started thinking about, is how in the original series, it seemed like, even though we do see a doppelganger Leland in the Black Lodge in the final episode of the original run, it seemed very much like they were treating Leland's relationship with Bob like possession, to one extent or another. This feels, so far, we're not getting anything too concrete yet, but this feels like we're not treating it like full-on possession. This feels like we really are treating it like we made a facsimile of Cooper that is a potential vessel for Bob, almost the way the Owls were in the original series. And sometimes Bob is driving and sometimes he isn't. Again, I don't know, but this was the first time tonight that I started to go, oh man, I got a lot that I gotta go. I gotta write some graphs and charts and things.
But you think of the Owls being the carrier of Bob?
Yes.
It did seem like, because that was the one.
No.
That was the one question that the giant gave him those clues, and I feel like that's the one that didn't explicitly pay off at any point. But there was enough there that it seemed like Bob could use the Owls as his eyes or as a way to get from place to place.
Tyler, do you have any theories on this at all? Or do you think we're just crazy talking?
No, I mean, they all seem like great theories. I will say that the interesting thing about seeing Evil Dale, or, you know, Evil...
what do we call him?
Dougie,
Dirty Dale.
Dirty Dale. The interesting thing about that is that scene was actually shot here in L.A. at a decommissioned jail. And the top floor of that jail was supposedly haunted by a young girl. And honestly, me and one of the other stand-ins, when we were working there, we went up there to look, and there was like dead birds on the ground. And like it was creepy. It was really creepy, and like it was like a psych ward on the top floor. And there was
Were you scared?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, seriously, I was scared because like the people that worked there were telling us stories of how like some of the security guys would actually see like, you know, like ghosts of the little girl. And so like we went upstairs and there were all these dead birds on the ground, and like we were scared like that we were about to see a ghost.
At least they weren't owls.
True story.
I would probably poop my pants if I was you. I mean, that would be absolutely terrifying. Next, I just want to touch a little bit. We're going to get to him later, but we see this guy, Steve, and Mike Nelson.
Mike!
That made me happy.
Yes,
Wow.
and thank you so much.
Good eye.
I can always spot out a redhead.
Yeah. Well, we see this new guy, Steve, who Get Out. He was in Get Out.
Yes, Caleb Landry Jones.
Yeah, Caleb Landry Jones.
He's
and
great.
He is creepy and fantastic. And he was there. He got turned down by this guy, and he, is Mike Nelson, and he's very angry.
Fellow redhead, mind you.
Yeah, it's like, hello, be nice, guys.
I thought there was a ginger camaraderie there.
Yeah, I
but
guess.
Go on.
I guess not. And we're gonna get into this in a little bit, but he wasn't that kind to him. Long story short.
Well, did you see him? Gah.
Well, I
Little
know.
problem. Little.
Yeah,
He
had
looked
a little-
nutty.
At first, I thought that he was being mean to him, and then later in the episode, I go, "Oh, well, he is a drug problem." Okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
And like, it is nice to see that of all of the different not so savory paths any of the young people we saw in the original series could have gone down. I like that it seems so far like Mike grew up.
Yeah.
And he's a guy now, and he does his job, and he lives a decent life, and he's not worried about Leo shooting him in the face.
Yeah, him and Bobby both cleaned up real nice, didn't they?
I want to see that. More of that. I definitely do.
More of Bobby.
I'm
or
assuming
what?
he, Mike.
I do. Even though he's not as good looking as he used to be, I do want to
Right.
see more of Bobby.
Yeah.
I
Because
don't know. I think he's got a little, like, a nice silver fox thing going. He wears that uniform real
You
nice.
think so, Lex?
I could maybe be persuaded if he talks to me real nice, buy me a drink at the Roadhouse. I might hear him out, if nothing else.
I would.
Yeah.
I want to know if Mike and Nadine have had any contact.
Yes. I would love to know all of those things. And we did see Nadine,
Oh my
which
gosh,
we will
yes,
get
we
into
did.
at the
Yeah.
very end. There's a scene that was very small I want to talk about, you guys, which is Sheriff Truman and his wife Doris.
Oh my god, yeah.
The black mold.
Yes, it was all, I keep on writing, it was code. And Lex was reading my notes. I didn't even remember what I said. And I was like, the cat
That's right.
is something. And there's so many crazy things I wrote about this scene, but I think that they were almost speaking in a bit of code. Or
Oh.
There was a moment where she said something. I forget exactly what her line was. It might have been like, I have to wait a whole day with this pipe, and then she does this thing
Yes.
with her coat. And I went, this could, if you told me this was code after the fact, and you pitched me a compelling enough story, I might buy it, even though I don't know that I bought it solely from what we got. I think she's just a very animated
emotional,
lady.
animated,
I got
person.
go back to my favorite character again. I got such Nadine vibes from her, and I feel like
vibes.
they either need to be like best friends, or that would be a really bad idea.
I don't know what it means. Do you have any insight into these?
To the code between them two?
Well, or just like what that scene meant, because it was so random.
Well, that's what I mean. David Lynch is so random.
Sometimes I feel like it's just random for random's sake, and I feel like I got the vibe. It's just
I thought you was genuine. Like
yeah. I
she's
thought it was
worried
like
about
she's
the
just
pipe.
they've been together for a long time, you know. She's just coming in to bicker and start trouble.
There was
And
just a
he's
moment,
just unfazed by anything.
When we've learned so much, I feel, about who Frank Truman is, more from the nonverbal performance moments from Robert Forster so far than any of his lines. He reacts to his wife much the same way he reacts to Andy and Lucy. This very
And
like
Molly Brando.
yes, this very much like
Yeah.
I care for
Uh-huh.
you, but like oh
Right.
man, all right,
Right.
okay.
He's
Yep,
getting desensitized, you know.
Yep.
Who is
Yep.
he talking to, though? Let's talk for a moment that he's talking to Harry.
Yeah.
Who's Harry? He sounds sick.
Harry
Truman, his
Harry
brother.
Truman.
Right, duh, of course, Harry Truman. But he, the conversation I wish I heard more of.
It was, oh, when do you get those tests back? Okay, you hang in there. So they've referenced him being unwell.
Being sick.
And of course,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hang on too tightly to this hope that it was all a ruse, that Michael Ontkeen is not
No,
in fact
he's not gonna
returning.
be on there.
But I do like, I love that David Lynch is not so cruel that he killed Harry off somewhere in those 20 years. I love that Harry's, wherever he is still hanging on somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this Dougie. Dougie Dale and Janie, his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So it's $425 exactly that he
$1,000.
$425,000
It's a little more than that.
that he took from the casino. And there is a moment where they're walking out, and Sonny Jim, the son, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he cries. Sonny Jim doesn't cry, but Dougie/Dale cries,
He has a little tear.
staring at him. Why?
I don't know. What do you
Well,
think, Lex?
Oh man.
Where does that emotion just come from out of nowhere? What is he thinking?
I have two thoughts. One is real quick to express, and one takes a little bit more time. The immediate one is it could just be his reaction. This is if our Dale is in there. This is a proto Dale. This is a newborn baby version
Yes.
of Dale almost,
baby
and
Dale.
it could just be this recognizing of innocence and this connection with innocence and how it maybe affects him very deeply. The second much more involved thought process that I have has to do with what I was thinking about before, about what are the rules about, like, what is Dougie Jones? Was Dougie Jones a real person before this doppelganger Dougie Jones took his place, or was he always a doppelganger? If he was always a doppelganger, is Sonny Jim his biological son? And if he was never a
Right.
real person, what does that make Sonny Jim? So we were talking about how this
Exactly.
relates to the rules with Leland in the original run. Was Leland possessed, or was Leland a doppelganger? If Leland was a doppelganger, was he a doppelganger going all the way back to meeting the neighbor Robertson at his grandparents' lake house? If Leland was always a doppelganger, what does that mean for Laura Palmer?
Right. Well,
All right,
was
no.
Sunny Jim a little Laura,
So
basically.
I'll go, and I do go. So I had a couple of thoughts.
Is this too deep?
Like my
Are we
head's
going too
spinning.
deep?
I know.
Are we doing with our shovels? Are we digging the shit too
have
deep?
Our golden shovels.
I
Tyler,
have
do you,
some of those.
you have some of those same thoughts?
Same thoughts as what was just mentioned. I mean,
Wow.
I-
You and
I-
Lex must be twins or
I-
doppelgangers, maybe, because you
Dude,
think the same
maybe
way.
we're both little gold marbles.
Could be.
Ooh,
I can't get
I
my
like it.
brain that deep in there like that. I've been saying that I feel like everyone is in a way like connected to Dougie. Like people look out for him, like the way the kid tried to take the bomb off the car.
Yes.
119.
Well, let's get into some of the Dougie stuff, okay? Because he's Dougie, but he's Dale. And we see him go to work. And you would think at this point someone would call 911, right?
Right.
Call for help.
Call for help.
I love too. Like, what was Dougie like before this? That everyone seems to be rolling with it,
So
no matter
used
how
to
weird
this.
it gets.
Well, Dougie liked hookers. I mean, we do know that much.
He seemed a little laid back.
Like everybody's reacting for sure. They're like, "Come on, Dougie," but not like this is totally new behavior.
Well, we got to keep in mind he wears that coat on the regular, so that says a little something about
Yeah.
him right there.
A weird tidbit I saw floating around. Some people were thinking that this may have been 2003.
Yes.
Okay, you heard about this?
I saw that. Well, I think we maybe mentioned it real briefly last week, and I heard the same theory that he went through the wrong door in that
Right.
room with the electrical sockets when he came out and replaced Dougie, and their thought process was, well, maybe he ended up in the wrong time. The number 15 turned into 3. Maybe he ended up in the wrong year, and maybe that means the mysterious billionaire who owns that building is in fact a time-displaced Cooper. And for a second I went, oh shit. And then I looked at the Reddit, and there were a lot of very smart people on the Reddit who were like, well, for this reason and this reason and this reason and this reason, that's probably not the case.
gonna happen because I saw a phone that was like recent.
And it was
The
little. It was
woman in the
people.
elevator.
It was people keying into things like phones and things like the year, the make and models of different cars. Like as deep as it seems like I'm going, I'm not like screen capping.
I always look at cell
and
phones.
truth in our time
when I
travel.
want to know where we're at.
Well,
I
if
saw
they're
her-
flipping
it was touchscreen.
or if they're touchscreen.
Speaking of elevators, we saw a very beautiful, awesome person in the elevator this evening.
Elevators.
And it may or may not have been our own Lisa Mason Lee here in the studio. She
Great
was there.
performance.
Thank you.
Hands
Thank
Great
you.
down.
performance.
Thank
Great
you.
performance.
Great
See,
reaction.
I told you I didn't know anything. I didn't even know I was gonna be placed in this episode.
She didn't, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I paused it and I started screaming. Someone told me to be quiet, and it's fine.
We got yelled at like 10 times out there.
Yeah.
By the way,
Oh my gosh.
Whatever, guys.
we're
shut up.
very excited about the show.
It's very exciting.
And,
In this meeting, though, well, first of all, the coffee thing. When he gets in the elevator,
Oh, it's like a
Dale
mouse
or
to
Dougie.
cheese.
And it's just, again, a great, like,
Yeah.
throwback for us with the
Love
coffee.
that.
Say it, whatever you're going to say.
No,
Lex.
just the visual of him following it around like he's a dog being led is wonderful.
And I liked when
So
he
cute.
first got up there and those two people were sitting down and there were like cups on the table. He just stared at them until they were like,
Sit down.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, move him. And then he throws a fellow, coworker under the bus. Apparently his name was Tony.
Yes, played by Tom Sizemore.
Of course,
Who I
yes.
feel like we don't see in a whole lot these days, but is a wonderful character actor, and he's got, I guess he had for a while a bit of a reputation for his off-camera antics as well, but like a powerful character actor, so it's like really, really cool to see him on screen again and playing like the antithesis of what his persona is. Like he's not usually playing the suit and tie insurance salesman, so this was very cool.
It was. Did you guys get anything else from this interaction? Because I think it's going to be broken down later. Dougie was his friend. I think they were both probably doing a lot of bad things together. I got that from that scene, that they're both kind of like the hookers.
I didn't.
No?
I keep going back to Dougie being like super in touch with everything around him and like he could smell a lie.
Well, I agree, but before that, when they even came into the meeting room, the conference room, he gave him a hug and he was like, "I've saved your ass. I've been covering for you."
Right.
So I thought that these two kind of had some kind of camaraderie.
Well, there was also, right before he called him out for lying, there was that little green splash of light real quick on his face, almost like the over the slot machines.
Yes.
That signal that he had.
I must have been picking my nose. I completely missed that.
I may have been having a stroke while I was watching, but like it was real quick to the point where I was like, wait, was that? Cool. And then he had the lying line, and I went, okay, I didn't make that up just now.
Awesome.
I did get that same vibe when they were in the room and he was like, lie. I go, okay, that's going to tie back to the slot machines. He can tell what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. Then we have Supervisor Burns, Brett Gelman, who I love, and the casino. And there are people that own the casino, I'm assuming, he doesn't own it, he's just a manager. And they fire him, beat the shit out of him. And they're like, this guy ever comes back. And again, of course he's going to come back, right? This is a show.
Mm-hmm.
I love those casino girls. That took me back to like One-Eyed Jacks a little bit.
Like, did they bring them in just to watch
and they were
Brett
like
Gelman get
petting
beat?
each other?
I don't know. This is the first time we've seen the candy
Well, okay.
girls.
I felt
Yes.
like as we were watching this with Tyler, he had some kind of understanding of the Candy Girls.
I do, but I don't think I'm at liberty to...
Pineapple, banana?
Pineapple, probably, yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I tried.
We're gonna, Oh, you know what? We've got some wonderful people in the chat room. We've got Anne Marie.
Hey.
We have Super Locrian 77. We have Sam Jones. Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Lots of comments.
Hello.
One of our friends here says they don't know how many more episodes they can stand of poor Dougie acting like this.
Again, I kept on saying,
find
why doesn't
Dougie
anyone
hilarious.
call 911, take him to a hospital?
Yeah.
But somehow everyone
I
is...
couldn't like stop laughing at Kyle when he was doing these scenes. It was...
If next week the whole hour was him standing in that courtyard poking at the statue's shoes like we saw
Well, I
in the
was
credits.
telling him that statue is actually David Lynch's dad. It's a statue of David Lynch's dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
What is the significance of the statue? Do you know, or do you just know that it's a family connection?
I just know that it's a statue of David Lynch's dad, and when we were shooting that day, he came up and was looking at the statue. He was like, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" Yeah, it was really cool.
Another family member was in the show.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Mr. Riley,
Yeah.
Riley Lynch, the guy playing the guitar at the Bang Bang is Riley Lynch,
Yeah.
David Lynch's son.
If you watch again, you'll see the resemblance. He looks exactly like a young David,
And
in my opinion.
You were saying that is his other son because he had another son that played the boy with the cream,
mask
corn,
or the corn, yeah.
in the season
Yeah.
1.
Right.
So the interesting
I
thing
believe
about
so.
this season is, like, not just what you've been talking about with the old cast, reoccurring, but you also see, little bit known to probably everybody, but you see a lot of the crew kind of behind the scenes in the scene, and which is really cool. Like in one of the other scene, like Lisa's scene. Standing right next to her, Skip Ucola, the other stand-in that
Yes.
I referenced, he's standing right next to Lisa, and you see Skip. He was, one of the original stand-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another scene with Johnny Sclementi.
Yes.
That was what scene was that? That was at the office.
With what's the two redhead guys, Mike and
with
the new
Mike
guy. And
he's in the
then
background.
and then we have Ashley,
And
our
then
other fellow
Ashley, our
stand-in.
other stand-in. She was the receptionist when Dougie comes in with the.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's probably so cool for everyone
Yeah.
to watch,
Well,
after the fact.
Exactly, and it's so cool that David and the crew will just put you in the scene.
Yeah.
Like, and
And not
everybody.
only that, but in the first two scenes, Sabrina Sutherland, the executive producer, she was the casino.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the floor attendant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There are so many. I mean, and again, I'm going to bring up a scene that I feel like is not important, but is going to be important. Is I'm just going to call her a crackhead, and because we don't know her
I think
name.
that's what she is.
119.
119.
All of them.
Yes,
Crack and everything else.
Saltine.
She. Okay, so as we were watching this scene with her child, and what did I say? I was like, he is eating crackers and his mom does crack. That's literally what I wrote down. So I go, that is a sign. That is how deeply I am getting into this television show.
I feel like it's kind of intentional, right?
Yes, it
Like,
is.
yeah.
It is intentional. And he goes out. He runs out to Dougie's car tries to dismember a bomb. Like, where is he coming
I thought that
from?
was a GPS
Yeah,
tracker,
I thought
but
that was
apparently.
How is a kid that smart?
Because he is being taken over by something else. He knows things.
People are protecting Dougie.
They're protecting Dougie.
Dougie. He has like some kind of magic around him.
But
He just looked like
when we
a
saw
kid
Dougie
trying to
last,
be, you know, in mischief.
I guess.
Jesus
guys,
kid.
guys, someone in the chat said the statue was made specifically for the show.
Oh.
All
But
right.
who knows what about what?
We have David Lynch in the chat tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
David's like, that's my father. I made him.
Faces of Stone.
Right. Oh, it says D.T. Thompson. That's no, I don't know.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of theories. I believe you, Tyler. Okay, so after we see this entire bomb thing happen, and he goes, there's people in the chat I've seen the difference between the cars. There's the black car, and then what color was the other car? Orange, red.
Yeah,
I think.
Red car.
Yeah.
Red
Did
and
you
black.
not pick up on this, Lex?
No,
Is
I
this the
saw
one
this.
thing? All
One
right.
of our friends earlier was asking about that red car and the black car, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
I feel like you would know everything, but you look confused too.
No, I was just like I saw it, but the color of the cars, I didn't specifically think too much about. I keyed in on the black car because it looked very much like the car that Mr. C was driving in the previous episodes. But I didn't think too much about the cars beyond let me just try and track whose car is whose.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We'll get into that when we can. All right. So next, you guys, we finally see Shirley again. We see Norma, and then we meet Becky.
Yes.
Love her so much.
Big fan.
Amanda. I'm a big fan of Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
Like, she's one of my favorite
She's great.
actresses. She's fantastic. So she is, she's Shelley's daughter.
Yes.
She looks like Bobby.
That's what you guys
Yeah.
were saying. She has a little
She
Bobby
looks
face,
like
doesn't
Bobby.
she?
I was gonna ask, like, if you guys think that A, she's Bobby's, B, she's Leo's, or C, some third option.
Dear God,
not
do
Leo's.
I mean,
no
guys,
way.
we've been
Child.
away from Shelley for over 20 years. She probably has a lot of guys that, it could have been.
And to be fair, if she wasn't
Ooh.
pregnant during the original run, the last time we saw Leo, he was in Wyndham Earl's spider death trap.
Yes.
So for all we know, Leo never made it out of the spider death trap.
Yeah,
I feel like
I
we're
don't
gonna
think it's
find out.
Leo's.
I hope we find out.
We'll find
But
out.
this girl has some adventure to her. She has
Major
maybe a
Laura
bit of
Palmer
a drug
vibes.
problem.
Oh, yeah.
I totally felt
Major
those
Laura
Laura Palmer vibes.
Yes.
The
so
red
hard.
seat from the car reminded me of
Yes.
the red curtains in the Black Lodge, and it feels like it's
That-
setting it up for
When
her
she does
to...
the coke and then she
Mm-hmm.
throws her head back and she's just taking the ride as they play that music. I feel like that's
Yes.
impossible not to think of Laura Palmer.
Oh, totally. It's like she
Absolutely.
cared at first and she was concerned about her and her boyfriend. And then as soon as she takes the drugs, all cares out the window.
And again, it's Steve, this guy that we see at the beginning of the episode, and he is we said this, Get Out. I just rewatched it 2 nights ago, so I knew exactly what he's so creepy, that actor. I
Someone-
love him, and he's so great at what he does because he's very creepy.
Someone in the chat says that Steve looks like he needs to be dipped in bleach, and I'm kind of like along with that. He's looking kind of rough.
Well-
I'm not surprised he didn't get that job.
Well, it is, I think, this entire storyline, because we know that that actress is going to be a big part of this season, and it's funny because it's episode 5, which would seem like far along, but they gave it to us so fast, the first 2, that this is essentially like episode 3 for us, kind of. 3 weeks, 4 weeks of watching. So,
What's nuts, especially when we go back to this conversation we've been having a little bit about how this feels more than any other show that's released all at once, intended to be binged. This feels like we're seeing the first 5 hours of an 18-hour movie, and it still feels like we're in the rising action.
yes. And again, okay, so when they were in the car, I'm going to say something that I think will be brought up later. He turned on the radio to 87.7 when she looked up and got all cuckoo eyes,
I
Laura
wanted to
Palmer.
get something out of that, but we've been getting so many numbers every week that it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a local station or like a college station
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, a
like here, like
college station, for sure.
88.5.
Well,
You guys-
speaking of numbers, the 425,000, I'd have to go back and look at the notes I took. Wasn't 425 the first number the Giant gave Cooper? in that first
Yes.
sequence in the first
Yeah.
episode?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
That's it. No, that's it.
We
That's it.
turned
That's
him
it.
on.
That's
He's
it.
excited.
Look at us putting
Wait,
all of our
no.
brains together.
No.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
4-3-0.
It was 4-3-0.
Sorry.
It's 5 off. Where's that missing 5, you guys?
I don't know.
What are they doing to us? This is terrible.
Maybe that missing 5 was won by the lady at the casino.
But the
Let's
315
kinda
on the
go
key
crazy,
was
though.
the same as the thing when he was in the when Cooper was in the thing.
The furnace thing.
Yeah, the
Yes.
furnace thing.
The 3 and
Yeah.
the
315.
15.
I feel as though I'm going to rewatch this many times.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Finally figure it out in about a year.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so next, let's see. We have a Hawk and Andy scene, which was very funny and a
Aw.
bit
Couldn't
racist.
find any Indians.
Yes, no Indians. They're just cracking at it. And I think, Hawk is probably thinking, I know he has to know something more, or he's trying to figure it out
I think he
so
doesn't.
deeply.
I think he wants to figure it out.
Yeah, I
though.
feel like if he knows anything, it's like Hawk knows what his own heritage is,
it's
but he doesn't
something
know.
to do with it.
Yeah, like he probably still has no clue what the relevance would be.
And then, of course, we have Dr. Jacoby.
Yes, the one big answer we do get tonight is what he was doing with those shovels, and the answer is he's hawking them on his YouTube channel.
So I guess essentially, Dr. Jacoby, it seems as though an infomercial kind of situation. But I still feel as though there's more significance to this than
I don't
it's
know.
just it's an infomercial channel.
Well, how about the people that were watching the show?
Yes.
They were like really into it. Like Nadine looked very happy.
Yes,
by, like,
we got a glimpse of Nadine,
They
of
tune in
course.
every week.
And then
yeah.
you guys, I'm so sorry we have to skip so much stuff because we love you dearly, but we only have a certain amount of time. But we go to the Bang Bang, and this is David Lynch's son. Like we said, we have a really fun scene with that. And then at the end, we see Tammy, the FBI agent, and she's comparing Dale's pictures.
And looking at the fingerprints very
Fingerprints,
intently.
yeah.
And
this
the
is
fingerprints.
This is after we get that mention of we got 16 hits on Major Garland Briggs' fingerprints in the last 20 some odd years. Also, Ernie Hudson, first of all, who I'd forgotten completely was supposed to show up in this season. I have to assume that his character being named Davis is a tip of the hat to Don Davis, who played Major Briggs. Have to assume. But anyway, I love seeing Ernie Hudson. That was great.
Wow.
Well, there's so many people, too. We didn't even mention, like, John Belushi.
Jim Belushi and
John
Robert
Bel-
Nepper.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. We're an explicit
Pineapple.
podcast.
Does that get
Jim,
bleeped out?
I can't. Okay.
No, we can say fuck.
No, we
Well,
can. Yeah.
Now
Because
we
our
have
fans
twice.
like fuck.
Well, now we have to say
Three
it some
times.
more.
Like us to be real.
Okay, so there's been so many people, and I think that's the point of the entire thing is that David Lynch is throwing in these very famous people that we know, but
Yes.
low key. We're not supposed to, like, make a thing about it.
Yeah, well, when we saw John Ennis in episode 3, I believe, we didn't even get a full shot of his face. We just see, like, the back third of his profile.
Yes. And, okay, I'm just going to... Okay, first we have the Dirty Dale phone call before... All right, so he says Mr. Strawberry.
Yeah, I wanna
He
know all
knows
about
people
that.
are watching him, Mr. Strawberry.
And, like, Warden Murphy knows who I don't, but he knows who Mr. Strawberry is. He does a full, I'm going to cover my mouth so everyone in the room knows I know something's up.
Yeah, ooh, that's what you do. Okay.
Oh, one of our people in the chat, Anne Marie, says, "Is Doppelcoop wearing his fingerprints?"
Probably, and it's crazy.
Are we talking about Dirty Coop? Dirty
Yeah.
Dale?
I think
Wearing them.
she's probably talking about Dirty Dale.
He's so smart. I wouldn't doubt it.
Wearing Garland's fingertips?
I
Is
wouldn't,
that what those are
I
called?
wouldn't doubt it either.
Garland Briggs.
Oh no.
No.
Is he wearing the Major's garlands?
Okay, guys, and then ending, we do have Dougie, or, regular Dale, Baby Dale. I'm going to call him Baby Dale, because he's like a baby.
Yeah.
And he's back at that statue that we were talking about.
He's
And
got a real
he
thing for that
is-
statue.
Really has a thing for the statue. And that's
drawn to the
basically
statue.
all that we freaking know. So,
Wait.
before, what else
Can
is
we
there?
touch upon that creepy guy that was in the Bang Bang with the cigarettes and wasn't
Yeah, that
supposed
was
to
a
smoke?
sorry,
really,
yes.
really
Real
intense
quick.
scene.
What seemed to me as if that was clearly a payoff for that guy who we know works for the sheriff's department.
Chad, I think his name was.
The other thing that I thought that I had to explain to when I was watching it, not by myself, I had to explain to people after the fact, is the brand of cigarettes was an Easter egg,
Morley?
a big like a TV culture Easter egg. Morley is a fictional brand of cigarettes that was created for and preferred by the smoking man on the X-Files, and has since, because the people who worked on X-Files have since gone off and had big careers on some of the biggest shows on TV, Morley will pop up on a bunch of other shows. So like it was the brand that Spike smoked on Buffy, for example.
Right.
So I thought
Oh
that
my
was a
gosh,
really
yeah.
fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was a really fun Easter egg.
I
Wow.
didn't know that.
That totally blows my mind. Before we get into some predictions, I'm going to talk about you a little
About
bit,
me?
Tyler.
Okay.
So you have a lot of stuff going on. You're in a play right now.
Yeah, so I'm in a play right now out in Pasadena. So all you local LA people that are listening, tuned in, if you want to come out next weekend, we have another weekend of shows, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday matinee. It's Jane Austen's Emma. It's a British play. I play a character named Mr. Elton. And yeah, it's a great show with a great cast. So if you guys aren't doing anything, come out to Pasadena on the weekend and check it
Well,
out.
I'll come for sure. We should all make a field trip out
Yeah,
there.
you can buy tickets online at 413productions.org.
Is that a code?
Yeah, that's where you buy the tickets.
I'm just thinking, David Lynch is behind all of this.
Yeah.
But thank you
No, the
so
numbers don't mean anything.
They do, okay? They do in my mind.
We're
I'm just
trying.
gonna
We have a lot of
413,
math.
The
time and time
413,
again.
yeah.
We do. All right. On that note, let's get into some predictions for
Your
next week.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay,
Who needs to start?
who wants? Okay, I'll start.
I'm not.
Lex, you start.
Oh,
Do you want the
man.
log?
You have to
All
hold
right,
the
let me
log.
take
It might
the
help.
log. Let me take the log.
It
And the
helps
log,
sometimes.
I heard the log talking before the show, and I think the log just wanted to relay some scuttlebutt that it heard on the web to me. So we obviously, as we all know, we did not get a resolution this week on the big cliffhanger from last week, which is who is it, this woman that Albert and Gordon have to run this doppelganger by before they move forward. And we speculated ourselves, hopefully we'll get an answer next week, the scuttlebutt on the internet, and nobody knows anything, but what everyone I think is holding out hope for is that the one person that they have to talk to is in fact Diane.
Yes.
And that is who Laura Dern will be playing.
Yes.
Now nobody is saying that this is true.
Huh.
Everybody is saying this based on a couple of things, including, for example, Laura Dern is known to be in David Lynch's roster of performers a fairly heavy hitter. The speculation is you don't deploy Laura Dern for a part of very little consequence. So everybody is now speculating, maybe wishfully, that she will be playing Diane, and that is who we're going to see introduced. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's I think what the log wanted me to tell you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Log.
Log.
I also agree with that. I think that when Coop went missing, that she probably headed straight down to Twin Peaks to find out why she's not getting any more tapes.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Right.
my big prediction, oh man, I think that Amanda Seyfried is Bobby Briggs' daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think there's something more to the huckleberry extract that they mention in the podcast for Dr. Jacoby. Because,
Mm-hmm.
they were always eating huckleberry pie and something special about huckleberry. I don't know. I think maybe it might come back into play.
I don't know. Jacoby said a lot of
Yeah.
weird stuff. Adding on to Diane, that just kind of made me think, like, what if Diane brings tapes that Dale had sent her in the past to help him regain his memory? I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Okay, throw me the log.
Oh, no! You dropped the log.
I dropped it.
Tyler.
I dropped it last week. It's okay. Don't get it. It's fine. You're gonna give me the log. Thank you. Oh no.
That's a bad luck, Sam.
The log does not like me. All I have to say is one thing: aliens.
Oh!
I hope so. I always hope it's aliens.
Girl.
Aliens.
Oh.
On that note, you guys, I'm so sorry, Log, and thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Tyler, for joining us.
It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
It was
for
such an
having me.
absolute pleasure having this inside look at, what you do and a little bit into Twin Peaks. So
Yeah.
one more time, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter, TeamAlex17.
Cool, awesome. Lisa, one more time.
Hi and bye. You can find me everywhere at Lisa Mason Lee.
You can find me at Michael X Shirley on Twitter and Instagram.
I am all over social media at the Lex Michael.
And you guys can find me, Sam Davidson, SamDavidsonEntertainment.com, Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. We love you all. We are trying our best to put this all together with you. So keep on commenting, giving us your theories, tweeting at us. Be nice. We'll see you next week. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Cow
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.